Dear Los Angeles, we need to talk. It's time for us to start playing chess. I was driving to my friend's house on the other side of Los Angeles, and as I was driving on the freeway, I got a notification telling me that there's a curfew and that if I don't meet the conditions of A, B, or C, then I'm basically not allowed to be outside. And this was very bizarre to me. It's very jarring. I look at this notification while I'm driving, and then I look around. I don't see any smoke. I don't see any fire. I don't see police sirens. I see cars driving like usual. I see people walking on the streets. It was a very bizarre mismatch. This notification was telling me that it's dangerous outside, and yet I seen absolutely no danger. Felt just like a regular night in Los Angeles. And honestly, I think this was the first time where I felt like the internet was bleeding into the real world. It's hard to explain, but oftentimes you'll get on like Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, and you'll see all these angry people from all sides, right? Upset about something. But up until tonight, I've always felt like those are internet things. When you step outside and go into the real world, a lot of those lines disappear and people don't really care all that much. But after seeing that curfew notification and life looked like it was just regular, everything going as usual, for the first time it felt like internet narratives were actually affecting real life. It's a hard concept to explain. I don't want to dwell on it too long. But I guess effectively what I'm saying is that like it seems like people in power relied mostly on what they seen on the internet to affect the real world. It was bizarre. But the point that I'm going with all this is that we need to start playing chess with these protests and whatnot. One of my biggest critiques of protests in Los Angeles over the past many years is that oftentimes when protests happen in LA, I never know what the demand is. I never know what change the protesters want to affect. And even as I sit here and think about the current protests that are happening in Los Angeles, I'm not sure what it is that people want. My best guess is that people just want it to stop. But it gets really confusing when I watch some of the clips and what I see is like, oh, fuck ICE. True. Fuck the National Guard. Okay. Fuck the Marines. Okay. Fuck the mayor. Okay, fuck the governor. Okay, fuck Donald Trump. Okay, it's just like, what? Okay, I understand you don't like all these things, but what is it that you want? And the issue with not knowing what it is that you want, other people get to define that. And sadly, I think this is playing right into the hands of the Trump administration. This is exactly what they want, maybe even orchestrated. Your demands aren't clear. No one's exactly sure what it is that you want from this protest. To come out of this protest, I should say. So we're going to make up the narrative. What they want is to protect criminals. That's why they're out there. What they want is to burn down the entire city. That's why they're out there. What they want is to loot and pillage all stores in Los Angeles. That's why they're out there. And while I'm smart enough to know that's not the truth, I'm left without ammo to counter when people make these stupid arguments. I have to infer why people are out there, which is not good. And obviously there's always going to be a percentage of people who just show up to be opportunistic, especially in Los Angeles. It's always going to be some percentage, no matter how organized a protest becomes. But I think it's time to start playing chess. Obviously it's not easy, otherwise it's been done already. But when we go out to protest, we need to start pairing our protesting, our marching with demands, or at the very least some message. I think the No Kings protest, I think it's great. It's very clear why everyone is getting together, organizing. They don't think that one man should be king in America, and they're voicing their disposition through protest. I think that's perfect. But it just sucks when I think about like a lot of conservative, right-wing, MAGA, whatever you want to call it, organized events. And I could tell you why they are organized. I can tell you why they're protesting. I can tell you why they're willing to commit some heinous acts. January 6th, they wanted to unpatriotically overthrow our election process. It's very clear. I can say that in one sentence. You know, we might agree that these are dumb things to protest, but it's very clear why they're out there. And again, I want to really like focus this on the fact that I'm talking about Los Angeles specifically, because Los Angeles is a large city. Back to the point I was saying, you will never be able to get rid of all opportunistic. Some people are always going to show up so they can burn a car. They're always going to show up so they can loot a store. They're always going to show up so they can throw rocks and blah, 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 and get in fights. Like, this is always going to be the case. And I think the best way to counteract this is if we better organize. We start playing chess. We separate ourselves from those who are stirring up trouble to those who are there to push a message or even to push demands, which I would think is far better. Obviously, this is not like a simple fix. Obviously, this is not something that is easy to get to the bottom of, but I'm just tired of the Trump administration and conservatives, MAGA, whatever you want to call them, right wing, are able to co-opt the narrative because there's not a strong enough message. Like, I'm so tired of it. These are, I believe, are good causes that just get muddied because there's not enough organization. Dear Los Angeles, I think it's time that we start playing chess.